Have you ever had someone in your life who was willing to sacrifice their comfort so that you could be comforted? They were willing to inconvenience their life so that you can have what you needed. Maybe it was a parent, a grandparent, a family member, friend, husband, wife. Well, today we're going to talk about that. And as a Christian, we are to act that way toward everyone.
I'm Pete, and this is Shauna, and we're ordained ministers with the Church of God. And on a daily basis, we invite you into our home through social media in order to share in our discipleship process. And today we're talking about 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 3 through 10. And the Apostle Paul gives quite a list here of things that he was willing to do for everybody to ensure that they come to know Jesus. He didn't want to offend them. He didn't want to drive them away. He didn't want to push them away from God. He wanted to make sure that he was a positive light in their life.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is just talk about some of these things and read through them. It's 7 or 8 scriptures there, so we're not going to read all the scripture. We're just going to talk about the things he said. He said, he was willing to show patience in the face of persecution and trouble.
Wow. That's amazing. To be under pressure and to know what it is to suffer physically and emotionally, but be patient in it.
But also knowing that his patience would be a positive light to other individuals.
That's right.
Him willing to endure persecution in a positive light would allow others to be stronger in their faith with Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. He goes on to say that he was willing to be beaten and thrown in prison. How about that? Are we willing to do that for our neighbor or the stranger down the street? Hey, beat me up and throw me in prison. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So you can know Jesus. He says he's willing to work hard and go without sleep and food.
Oh, wow. I think that is something that is, if you've had a good parent that you've seen in your parents, they're willing to work hard and go without the proper setting down at a table to eat a meal, go without sleep. I know that it's difficult to get everything done in a day and have that appropriate 8 hours sleep that you're supposed to.
I know many men at the mines who work third shift just because they want to be involved in their kids' lives. And what that means is they work all night and they stay up all day to spend time with their kids. Yeah. But it gives them that window to where they can do that, and they sacrifice for their children.
That's right.
It says that he's willing to live in purity, show kindness, and sincere love to all he encounters.
Wow. I think about a mother's love a lot of times when you show sincere kindness. I know that I heard Billy Graham tell once that he didn't even know that his mom didn't like dark meat chicken, because every time they would sit down at the table to eat, that everybody would get the portion that they liked, and she would take what was left, which was always dark meat. And
back then they killed a whole chicken and ate it.
That's right, yeah.
So there was only 2 breasts, 2 thighs, 2 wings.
Right.
Whatever.
So they
she just got what was left.
She just got what was left because she wanted to, through kindness, through the love that she had, she wanted to make sure that everybody else was pleased first.
He says he's always willing to speak the truth, no matter who was listening, and is committed to live a life of righteousness.
The truth is a lot of times very hard to say, especially when you can see someone who is going down the wrong road. Even though you love them, sometimes it's very hard to speak the truth to them because you don't want rejected.
And it's easier to turn a blind eye to it.
It is.
And just say somebody else will tell them.
Yeah, somebody else. God will send somebody else to tell him. But the Apostle Paul knows that if he doesn't do it, that it's a sacrifice to tell people the truth in love.
He said he's willing to be dishonored when he deserves honor.
Now, I think that a lot of times we can get puffed up and think, oh, I'm a Christian. People need to honor me. They don't need to be saying that stuff in front of me. That, oh, I don't want to be persecuted. Right now in our society, we're facing a lot of verbal persecution. Even some people are being put in jail and in prison. But the Apostle Paul tells us in his scripture that, it's even joy to him to suffer for Christ.
Right. He says he'll live with false accusations delivered against him and other labors that society place on him for his faithfulness to God.
He knows that no matter what, that the truth always comes to light, that darkness is brought out into the light. And he knows that even if he is spoke ill against or someone lies on him, that the truth will always come out. So that present suffering that he goes through, it's worth it.
Then finally, he says he'll possess nothing physically so he can attain everything spiritually. Basically, he'll go without.
Yeah. And that is not a prosperity gospel at all.
Nope. And you think about all these things, and all this comes down to the fact is the Apostle Paul loved the people he ministered to. The church of Corinth, several times he referred to them as his spiritual children, as if he was their father, and he loved them in that way.
Absolutely.
And the thing about this love is he was willing to sacrifice, inconvenience himself, go out of the way, be put in prison, be beaten, go without food, go without sleep, so they could have what they needed spiritually. He wanted them to know Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
And the thing we want to ask you today, are you willing to do that? As a parent, you're probably willing to do that for your child. You're probably willing to do that for your mother or your father or a close friend. But are you willing to do it for the stranger down the street? Are you willing to do it for your neighbor? Are you willing to go out of your way for the homeless person that lives under the bridge 2 counties over? Because the Apostle Paul would. And he said our heart should be that we would too.
Right. He loved the Corinthian church as his children, but he truly loved all as his children. He loved enough to make those sacrifices, to go through what he did, the persecution and everything that he did. I think that when you become a parent, you know a different love, and that being a parent allows you joy in those sacrifices, even because you get to see the fruit in your children. And the Apostle Paul, I'm sure, had that. He's seen fruit in his children, in his spiritual children, and that I'm sure encouraged him even the more.
So going forward, examine your life, examine your heart. Are you someone willing to sacrifice for the least of these? Mm-hmm. To go out of your way to help those? Will you interrupt your life or inconvenience yourself for those who are lost so that they can know Jesus Christ?
Absolutely.
That's something we all have to search ourselves out to find out.
Absolutely. And as we close, we just want to remind you to live intentionally for Christ, that every day you encounter God, exalt God, edify yourself with the reading of the Word, and that you engage the world.
Yep.
And do it with love. So until next time, God bless you.
God bless.